I wouldn't recommend listening to this alone. Many viewers miss the real horror by leaving early. Stay till the end, if you dare. I've never told this story publicly before, mostly because people who hear it think I'm exaggerating or adding dramatic details for attention. I'm not. Everything you're about to read happened exactly the way I remember it. Back in 2019, I was renting a small basement apartment in Syracuse, New York. It wasn't a bad place. Cheap rent, quiet neighborhood, decent enough for someone working late shifts like I did. I usually came home around 2 a.m., heated up leftover dinner, watched YouTube, and went to sleep. Nothing unusual, but in early November, something happened that made me move out within 5 days. It started with a knock. 1. The first knock. It was 3:17 a.m. on a Thursday morning. I remember the time because I paused the documentary I was watching and checked the screen. The knock was faint, like someone tapping their knuckles gently on wood. At first, I thought I imagined it. My front door was down a narrow carpeted hallway that connected to the shared staircase above. Living in a basement meant I could hear everything: footsteps, people shifting furniture upstairs, kids running. But nobody ever knocked on my door this late. Then I heard it again, 3 slow, deliberate taps. Tap, tap, tap. I froze. My TV was the only light in the room, and the hallway was pitch black. After maybe 10 seconds of silence, I called out, "Hello, who is it?" No answer. I thought maybe it was my landlord. Sometimes he came down to check the water heater. But when I opened the door, nobody was there. The hallway was empty, lights off, cold air drifting in from the stairwell. I checked the lock twice, then went back to bed trying to convince myself it was just a kid messing around or maybe I misheard. But I couldn't shake a weird feeling, the kind that crawls under your skin without reason. 2. The second night, the next night, at almost the exact same time, I heard the knock again. 3:17 a.m., not 3:10, not 3:25, 3:17. This time it was louder. Not aggressive, but clear and intentional. Tap, tap, tap. I didn't answer right away. I muted my TV and listened. After about 15 seconds, the knock came again, slower, heavier. Like whoever was behind the door wanted to make absolutely sure I heard them. I grabbed the nearest thing that could work as a weapon, a metal flashlight, and approached the door as quietly as possible. "Who's there?" I said. Again, no response. I leaned in and looked through the peephole. For a moment, the hallway looked empty. Then my heart nearly stopped. There was a man standing at the far end of the hallway, barely visible in the darkness. He was facing the wall, not my door. Completely still. No movement whatsoever. I stepped back instinctively, sweat running down my neck. When I looked again, he was gone. I shut the door, locked it, and pushed my dresser in front of it. I barely slept an hour that night. 3. The third night. By the third night, I was genuinely scared. I told my coworker about it, and he laughed, saying it was probably a drunk guy or a neighbor messing with me. But how would he get inside the building? I asked. "There's a keypad lock on the front door." He shrugged. "Maybe someone knows the code." That night, I turned off my lights at 1 a.m. and waited. I wasn't planning to confront anyone, just to see if the knocking would happen again. I sat on my couch in silence, staring at the hallway. At 3:17 a.m., the knock came like clockwork. This time it was firm. Not aggressive, but confident. Tap, tap, tap. My heart was beating so loud I swear the man outside could hear it. I crept to the peephole. He was standing right in front of my door. A tall man, maybe mid-50s or 60s. Thin, wearing an oversized brown coat, the collar almost covering his mouth. His head was tilted downward, slightly, like he was staring at the floor. But I'll never forget the worst part. He wasn't breathing normally. He was taking short, sharp breaths, like he had run a marathon. KKHH, KKHH, KKHH. I could hear it through the door. I didn't say a word. I didn't move. I just held my breath and watched. After maybe a minute, he slowly raised his head. And he smiled. Not a friendly smile. A wide, stiff, unnatural grin that didn't match the look in his eyes. His eyes were empty. Then he whispered, so faintly I almost missed it. I found you. I backed away so fast I tripped over my coffee table. When I stood up again and checked the peephole, the man was gone. I called the police right then. 4. The police response. 2 officers arrived in about 15 minutes. By then, it was around 4 a.m. I explained everything, the knocking, the man's behavior, his whisper. They searched the hallway and staircase, then went outside to check the security camera facing the building entrance. One officer came back down and asked, "You're sure the guy didn't use the front door?" "Yeah," I said. "Why?" He showed me the camera footage. From 2 a.m. to the moment they arrived, nobody entered the building. Nobody. Maybe he's a resident, the officer suggested. "No," I said. "I know everyone who lives upstairs." They took my statement and said they'd circle the area occasionally for the next few nights. But after they left, I barely slept. 5. The worst night. I didn't want to be alone the next night, so my friend Tyler offered to come over and stay until morning. I gladly said yes. He arrived around 11 p.m., and we made a plan. If the knock happened again, we'd both look through the peephole, maybe even open the door if it was safe. We stayed up playing Fortnite and talking until around 3 a.m. As the time approached, the tension in the room was suffocating. At 3:17 a.m. exactly, someone banged on the door. Not a knock this time. A violent smash, 3 times. Bang, bang, bang. We both jumped to our feet. Tyler whispered, "Holy sh*t, dude." I went to the door and looked through the peephole. The man was back, but this time something was horribly different. He was standing much closer, like his face was almost pressed against the door. And he wasn't smiling anymore. His expression was blank, dead, lifeless. Then he raised his hand and dragged something down the door, something metallic. It made a scraping sound that made my bones ache. I whispered to Tyler, "He has something in his hand." "What is it?" Tyler said. Before I could answer, the man leaned forward and whispered through the door, "You moved the dresser." My blood ran cold. I hadn't told anyone I did that. I stepped backward, shaking uncontrollably. The man whispered again, louder, "You shouldn't have moved it." Tyler, who hadn't seen the man yet, suddenly shouted, "Hey, I'm calling the police." As soon as Tyler's voice echoed, the hallway went silent. I looked through the peephole again. The man was gone. Not walking, not running, gone. Like he vanished. We called the police again, and when they arrived, the officer asked us to review the camera footage with him. At 3:17 a.m., nobody came in or out of the building. No movement, no shadow, no figure, nothing. But inside my hallway, someone had dragged a metallic object across my door, leaving a deep scratch. 6. The last morning, after the police left, Tyler and I packed my essentials, clothes, laptop, documents, and left the apartment before sunrise. I never spent another night there. The landlord agreed to let me break the lease after seeing the police report and the scratch marks on the door. He told me something strange, though. "You're not the first tenant to move out because of someone knocking at night." I asked him what he meant, but he just shrugged and said, "Old buildings have history." I didn't press it. 5 days later, I found a new place on the other side of the city. But here's the part that still keeps me awake sometimes. 3 weeks after I moved, my old neighbor texted me. She wrote, "Hey, did you ever figure out who that old guy was who kept coming to the basement door? He was here again last night." I didn't respond. I blocked her number. Because I don't want to know. And sometimes, usually when I wake up around 3 a.m. for no reason, I swear I can still hear those slow, deliberate taps in my memory. Tap, tap, tap. If this story stayed in your mind longer than it should, leave a like, subscribe to Grim Wave, and tell me in the comments what part disturbed you the most.